Welcome back to Beauty Uncovered, sponsored by Olaplex. So I have a question for all of you. Are your teeth straight? See, straight teeth and a healthy bite are the foundation of preventative oral health care and can save someone between $20,000 and $30,000 in their lifetime. Now, knowing how my family is, that probably would have prevented a lot of my spending. But today we're here to talk to Dr. Ingrid Murra. She's the founder and CEO of an orthodontic startup, Two Front, which helps facilitate virtual practices in orthodontia. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
I have so many questions because when it comes to teeth in my family, let me tell you, it is probably one of the biggest expenses in healthcare that I actually have, because I definitely believe, oral healthcare is a part of healthcare.
It 100% is. And to your point, it's not something that people have a lot of clarity on. There's no real WebMD of teeth.
There isn't.
We tend to really understand what's happening with the rest of our bodies, but for some reason, what's happening in our mouths, it's more of this black box where you kind of just trust your dentist blindly. And frankly, the only thing you really know to do to take care of your teeth preventatively is just brushing them and flossing. But there's more you can do. You don't have to be hit with all those bills for crowns for having cracked your teeth or whatnot. So I'm excited to kind of help dive into here and help your audience learn more.
See, I love, it's very funny because when I was first reading about all of you, and it talks about the fact that your bite and everything like that has a lot to do with how many, cavities, issues, or whatever you have within your mouth. I never really thought of it that way. It makes complete sense. But could you expand on that so people can kind of understand? Because I'll admit the bottom of my teeth are not straight, and that's where I have all my issues.
Totally. So I guess to start, I'm an orthodontist, which basically means, similar. I think people understand medical doctors a little bit better. So you become a medical doctor, you go to 4 years in med school, and then you basically specialize in whatever it is, right? Whether it's dermatology or, cardiology or whatnot. So similarly, I went to 4 years of dental school and then went to become an orthodontist. So 3 years of orthodontic residency. And basically what I learned in those 7 years of becoming a dentist, straight teeth and a healthy bite is, if you have straight teeth and a healthy bite, you can save a lot of money down the line. And there's so many reasons why. For example, exactly what you're saying, if you have lower crowding, which is one of the most common things that people have, one of the most common, what we call as orthodontists, malocclusions, meaning not a perfect bite, essentially. What can happen is because your teeth are so crowded, you can get gum disease. You're much more inclined to get gum disease. You're much more inclined to get gingivitis, recession, bone loss. And all of that is not repairable unless you have a surgical procedure such as a gum graft. So there's no kind of easy solution. And so by having straight lower teeth, it's not just aesthetic. It can actually save you from bone loss and gum disease. So it's a really great kind of non-invasive way, if you can strain them with clear aligners, to actually prevent something like a surgery down the line, which is much more expensive and much more invasive.
So I'm curious, because we went through the whole route of regular orthodontia, going to the orthodontist. My son got all those lovely things all in his mouth. He had a ton of issues. What is the difference between standard going to the office, those, what do they call, braces and everything, and the clear kind of orthodontia that's really popular now?
Yeah, I'm really happy you're asking this, because this is the big question that patients don't understand for a variety of reasons. So clear aligners and braces are two products that someone uses to straighten your teeth. So fundamentally, braces are metal brackets on your teeth and wires that are actually used to move your teeth. And the difference is, when you get braces, you have to go in typically once a month for an orthodontist to basically change your wire or bend your wires to actually move your teeth. Sometimes there's elastics that kind of help to move your bite, but fundamentally that's how it works. Clear aligners, similarly, is a product that helps to move your teeth, where there's attachments on your teeth. And think of these as the handles. Similar to the brackets in your teeth, you have these attachments placed in your teeth, which your clear aligners, like the wire, is helping to move those attachments or helping to move your teeth using those attachments. So both systems require this kind of push-pull dynamic between something being used to move your teeth and something being glued to your tooth as a handle. So the problem here is that a lot of people don't know which product works and who should be straightening their teeth. So the long story short is mail order aligner companies, there's no orthodontist who's actually designing your clear aligners, and there's no in-person visit where attachments are being placed in your teeth, which are the handles to move your teeth. And because of that, fundamentally, you're not getting good results. Now, to get good results with clear aligners, I tell everyone you need two things. You need an orthodontist who specializes in clear aligners. And the reason why I say that is because some orthodontists, they only learned how to move teeth with braces.
Right.
And you also need the best product. There's a lot of products that are being used out there. Invisalign is hands down the best product. Now, if you have a very simple case, let's say there's no bite movement, you just have some lower crowding, you might not need an Invisalign. There's a bunch of other good aligners out there, such as Spark aligners or 3M aligners, or Clear Correct. So for very simple cases, as long as an orthodontist is moving your teeth, it means you're going to get the best results, the most stable bite, the most stable results, because your orthodontist is actually moving your roots into the same position as your teeth. And in the shortest amount of time, because
okay, ask that. Is that like I've heard that it's a lot shorter than, say, traditional braces?
Yep. So to get the shortest amount of, to move your teeth in the shortest amount of time, clear aligners, tooth speed is a biological property. We say kind of grotesquely, I must admit, that in kids, teeth move like butter. Because you're still growing, your bone is soft. And so we can move your teeth so easily. The older you get, the harder it is to move your teeth. So part of it is a biological property. The second part is the skill set of the person who's moving your teeth. So for example, if you go to a general dentist who's moving your teeth using Invisalign versus an orthodontist who's moving your teeth using Invisalign, orthodontists understand biomechanical properties because they do have that extra 3 years of knowledge. And so something that, a case that will take an orthodontist 3 to 6 months could take a general dentist a year and a half, 2 years. Right. So by going to a specialist, that's how you're going to get the quickest results.
So is there any person, or like if you had a certain kind of like dental issue, you have crowding, all these different things, but are there certain patients that like just can't do Invisalign?
Believe it or not, I learned in residency, and this was the most mind-blowing thing to me, which is why I started this company. Orthodontists who specialize in Invisalign can do everything. So wow. I've done Invisalign cases where, it requires teeth be taken out and we can close the spaces using Invisalign. The most complicated cases are probably what are called impacted canine cases, it's pretty common in kids when the canines are kind of really up there.
My son has one right now and we have to go and take care of it. That's why it was one of the reasons I was excited about this. He's 12 and he has one.
It's one of the most complicated cases there are, but there are some orthodontists that now don't need braces for that. You're still going to need to expose that canine. You're still going to need to go to an oral surgeon, but now there's ways to actually open up that space with clear aligners and actually hook up that chain to your clear aligners so that you don't need braces, which is wild.
Wow. So what about things like, because again, I'm like going by my kids. My eldest son, he needed a pellet expander. Is that something that's completely separate than braces? Because that was like a torture device.
Yep, it's a good question. So now
that thing.
There's something called like Invisalign First nowadays, where we can actually expand teeth using Invisalign. It's pretty
Wow.
wild. It's a plastic version of the palatal expander because all we're doing, I think just going back to like what we're doing, moving teeth is push-pull mechanics.
Right.
You can do push-pull mechanics with clear aligners and attachments or with metal braces or with a metal appliance. Yes, we're going to have to push harder with plastic, but you can do it.
So here's my next question, because I've always been curious. So with the clear liners, do you take them out when you eat, when you go to bed, whatever, or is it just you keep it in and just take it out when you are brushing your teeth?
That's a really good question. So you asked why wouldn't clear liners work?
Because I gotta admit, my son winds up having so many cavities with the standard, because he had to have it for extra long. He had teeth that were backwards, the whole 9 yards. He had everything. And I felt like it ruined his teeth even more than having it.
Yeah. And it's such a bummer because, kids, a lot of times they just don't get it. And then they don't realize that while they're straightening their teeth, they're damaging their teeth. And which is why I really recommend clear aligners because, to go back to your question about when they don't work if you don't wear them. You do have to commit to wearing them. So some people are like, you know what, like my kids aren't going to wear them. I need these things to be glued to their teeth. But to your point, if they're not brushing their teeth or flossing with them, you can cause more damage. And so with clear liners, as long as you commit to wearing them, and I always recommend, you have to try to wear them for 22 hours a day. If you're wearing them for 16 to 18 hours a day, they'll still work. You just have to wear them for a longer period of time. So for people who let's say they're actors or whatnot, I still always recommend clear liners because there's so many benefits to it, right? Like emotionally, psychologically, for the health of your teeth. And so if you're going to be in treatment for a little bit longer, I still recommend them as long as you can wear them for at least 16 to 18 hours a day.
So you would still sleep with them on?
Yes, you still sleep with them.
What about eating?
Yes, you only take them out to eat.
Oh, okay. And brush your teeth.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I really didn't know that was. So how young could a person be to start that if you had kids that you wanted to start with that? And then what is I'm assuming there's really no age limit per se.
There's no age limit, it's the same age that you would start braces. And as long as you have teeth, then we can move your teeth using clear aligners. So let's say the average kid who needs phase 1 treatment ahead of kind of like the traditional or like adults treatment, which typically starts at ages 12 to 13. If you do need phase 1, that typically starts around 9 years old. But different kids' teeth are up to different ages and different problems start at different ages. Like if you have something very severe, you might want to intercept at 7 years old. And whenever you do need to move your teeth, you can use clear aligners.
Wow. So all right, because I do want to jump into tooth front because I think that is so fascinating, but I have one more question. So with, again, traditional, you got to go in once a month, go and adjust it because obviously, things are moving, so you have to adjust. What about Invisalign or a clear one? Is that the same, or is it just do it on its own?
So great. You're asking all the right questions. I hope that this is really helpful. So with clear aligners, the big difference is that an orthodontist, once we actually have a 3D scan of your teeth, we're actually physically designing your treatment plan. So instead of month by month us bending wires, we're saying, okay, at aligner 6, we need to do this. At aligner 14, we need to do this. So it's a different way of applying that biomechanical knowledge. It's a different way of saying, okay, first we've got to make space. Then we've got to rotate the teeth. Now we've got to close them. Now we've got to fix the bite. So that's typically what we do with braces, but with clear aligners, we're designing it all up front. So once we get your scan, we design the aligners. Then we've got to actually see you a month later, typically, which is the amount of time it takes to design your plan and have the aligners made and shipped. We then place those attachments on your teeth, which think of it as getting your brackets when you're getting braces. We give you your aligners. We then, to kind of jump into tooth front, we give you this virtual platform where you have two-way communication with your orthodontist, where you're sending these progress photos. As long as you're on track, meaning as long as your aligners are still fitting, and as long as the attachments haven't moved off your teeth, you can keep going. So through our platform, we allow you to basically send photos every 2 weeks so that you can keep going throughout the set of your aligners until you run out of aligners. So, and one misconception is that if we're going to give you 20 aligners, you're going to be finished in 20 aligners. That's not the case. I say clear aligners is like golfing. You're hardly ever going to get a hole in one. You typically have multiple sets of aligners, and the more complex your case is, the more sets you need. And so patients need to be prepared for that. So at the end of your set of aligners, you'll come back in, you'll get a new scan, you'll get your attachments removed, and your orthodontist will design a new treatment plan with new attachments and a new number of aligners.
So getting back to two front, which I have to, what was it that inspired this, which is virtual consult? Is it virtual consultations or is it just, I tell me all.
Totally.
Because I'm ready to look it up in my neighborhood.
Unfortunately, we're only in Southern California right now.
Oh.
We do plan to expand nationally to most major cities by next year or so. Stay tuned.
Wow.
So basically, I was in residency when the first mail order aligner company launched. And I saw, all my really smart friends wanting to now straighten their teeth in the mail. And I realized, as I was learning how orthodontics works, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. This doesn't work. And everyone's being tricked. So it was my first time kind of seeing that there was going to be a massive demand for an easier, better experience way to straighten your teeth. At the same time, I realized that orthodontists are the number one most in-debt professional in the country. Orthodontists have somewhere between $800,000 and $1 million of student debt. So not only are they not qualifying for loans for a typical brick and mortar location, patients actually don't know why they need them because there's so many general dentists offering clear aligners because there's no healthcare regulations here. And there's so many mail order aligner companies that are saying, never see your dentist, 6 months or less, $60 in the mail. And because of that, orthodontists, they don't know how to market to patients that are being told by these big companies that they're not needed anymore. So at that point, I realized that there was a massive supply and demand issue. So what we're doing with Two Front is we're basically giving orthodontists a free way to start virtual practices by leveraging space from local dental offices, so that one orthodontist can actually go into 20 dental offices near them because they're going into that office one day a month to actually see the patients for those in-person visits. And they're basically, we give them this platform where they can give patients that totally seamless, incredible digital experience, price point and quality that they're looking for. Seamless appointment booking, seamless treatment plan presentation, two-way communication, the best payment plans, everything is integrated through our platform so that dentists can actually give their patients the highest quality care by leveraging our platform and also generate passive income through our model. And the patients are getting the highest quality care by having access to this top orthodontist with the best experience and the best price points. And orthodontists have a fundamentally new way to launch a private practice.
And it is fascinating what you're saying about the debt that a lot of orthodontists wind up having. I know that the practice that we went to in New York, it was very, very busy, very, very busy, great orthodontist, but it was like he had to take on so many patients that 9 out of 10 times we would be waiting in the office for anywhere from a half an hour to an hour to be seen. Tons of people just coming in and out and then be seen for 5-10 minutes. And it was frustrating as heck as a parent because you're trying to keep them happy, but also just the time commitment every single month. I can understand why this online, even just buying it from a company, some random company that's promising you is highly appealing because that's a huge commitment.
It's a huge time commitment. And trust me, I have 4 younger sisters. I have a working mom, and taking all 5 of us to the orthodontist every single month over a 12-year span was the bane of her existence.
Oh yeah. It's you develop very personal relationships with everyone.
Totally.
So in doing this, you're basically cutting down a lot of those, one up kind of quick appointments. I would assume most of the time you don't need to come in and do an adjustment. How common is it for those spaces or those connectors to fall out? Is it like for someone with just bad practices and just taking it out all the time, or is it just something that sometimes happens?
Yeah, it's a really good question. With our model, we make sure that when you actually get them on your teeth, we train you on how not to knock them off. If you take your aligners and you just rip them out, yeah, they're going to come off. We basically teach you to peel your aligners off so that you're gentle and delicate with them. If you do that, they'll never come off.
Wow. So, I mean, it would be the dentist that's installing all that. That's not something that the person would be doing.
No. This is very much like a clinical procedure.
Sounds like user error. Oh my goodness.
No. It's not easy. Like even for an orthodontist and their assistant, it's very, very precise because you've got to make sure there's no holes in those attachments, no voids. You got to make sure that they're completely on there. And so we say the integrity of the attachments are the better half of clear aligners. Right. For your clear aligners to move your teeth, they've got to be whole. They've got to be perfect. They've got to be the right shape, the right size. And so it's a critical part to getting good results with clear aligners.
And nowadays with so many people not really, I don't know about you, but ever since the pandemic, anytime I could do something virtually because I just don't want to go out, which I don't know what that says about me, but seriously, I am preferring, virtual appointments for everything nowadays. Yeah. Especially with something where you're going to be in a crowded waiting room. It's just not appealing anymore.
It's not appealing. Yeah. So
it never was appealing, but more so now.
More so now, especially with everything that's happening in the world. And we also just have higher expectations of our time. We don't have to go to the store to order toilet paper. If you don't have to go in person to meet an orthodontist, why would you? Your time is your most valuable resource. And that's part of what we provide through our platform is virtual consultations. So even though your orthodontist is only going to your dental office once a month, that's just for those very few in-person visits. You know what I mean? And so every other day of the month, you can meet your orthodontist virtually if you have any questions, if you have any questions.
So is the cost for the client comparable to what it would be for a regular orthodontist, or is there a savings in that?
There's a massive savings. Yeah, I mean, it's part of what we're doing with our platform is we basically aggregate everything onto our platform to streamline and save on costs. So we can save on the actual Invisalign costs. We save on the financing costs. We save on the materials, the labor, everything. And so for example, I used to practice in New York. I went to a top residency. I went to the Harvard Dental School for orthodontics. I worked at top practices in New York. And so accordingly, I was charging $12,000 to $18,000. So to get that level of care, and by the way, that wasn't even the best experience. We didn't have a digital platform for check-ins. We didn't have the best financing for our patients. That's what it costs to go to a great orthodontist who specializes in Invisalign. We give that same quality. We only work with the best orthodontists. We have a clinical advisory board that vets our orthodontists to make sure that we have the best ones. And we're able to basically give patients treatment for $6,000 on average.
Wow.
And we have the best financing. And so we're able to offer patients somewhere between 36 to 72 month payment plans, depending on if they want interest or not. But if they don't want interest, then we can offer them 36 months interest free.
Wow. That's a huge savings.
It's huge.
That's like incredible. So when are you going to expand it? You said maybe next year?
To New York. New York is one of our next places. So early next year, we'll be in New York and in Florida.
Oh, and in Florida. Yeah. Actually, funny enough, I'm from New York, but now I live in Florida.
Perfect.
Okay. No, that's really exciting because I feel as though, that definitely sounds like the next step that I think a lot of doctors, a lot of mental health facilities, a lot of different places had to shift the way that they're doing healthcare in many ways. Obviously, with dental work, you figure they got to see what's going on in x-rays and all that other stuff. But to be able to cut out those extra appointments, aside from the fact that, the old expression, time is money.
Mm-hmm.
Saving yourself that time, which is, in many ways in your life, money, it has equity right there, but also for the doctor to be able to have that kind of expediency and not spending so much time. That must be so, like, it sounds like the best of both worlds.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It took us a couple of years to figure out this business model, but truly, I think you really nailed it. Like, time is money.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can save everyone's time while creating a better experience through a digital platform, everyone wins. All these companies try to really cut out the orthodontist to make it cheaper. You just can't. There's no way around it. If you could, I would have quit residency then and there, but you can't, and this is something that truly changes lives. And I am very passionate about making sure that people are getting the highest quality care.
I think that's amazing because it is really hard to be able to do that. It's like I said, I mean, dental care probably has cost me more than any kind of health care that I have in my family. Single mom, 3 boys. And let me tell you, they cost me some money, but teeth, oh my gosh. You think you're doing everything you properly can, but then it's like you said, when it comes to that bite, it becomes an issue. You wind up having issues. It's a lot.
It's a lot, and they're unexpected costs too. And so, I think part of what I love to tell people is like, Invisalign has been advertised as being cosmetic. If you are going to an orthodontist, it's not, because your orthodontist is making sure that you have straight teeth and a healthy bite to prevent as much of that recession as possible, to prevent you from having to crack teeth because you have an improper bite that's leading you to crack teeth, to make sure that your teeth are straight so that you're not getting more cavities or you don't have any spaces. Because if you have a lot of spaces, you're going to get impacted food, which causes cavities. And so it's the best thing that you can do to save money down the line.
I actually do have another question about it because as you were talking about it, it kind of popped in my head. If someone has, like, say, a cap already, like, I don't know, like, or bridge, that kind of thing. Does that still, like, you can still do that with the Invisalign?
You can. So if you have a cap, there's basically this special serum that we use to make sure that attachments will actually stick to your cap. If you have a bridge, that basically means that those 3 teeth can't move. And as long as your orthodontist has your x-rays, they can tell, and they'll just be able to plan around it and say, these 3 teeth, we don't move.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. You got to fix for all of it.
Yeah. It's why you just want to go to a specialist for these things, because it is very complicated. There's a reason why there's 7 years of school, but as long as you're going to a specialist, you're going to get that good care.
So if we have any orthodontists or dentists that are listening right now and are kind of intrigued by all this, where can they learn more information about this? And also, any of our listeners that are not and want to see if there's going to be something coming soon in their area, where can they go?
Absolutely. So our website is mytoothfront.com, all spelled out as in my 2 front teeth.
I was going to say, I love that name. As soon as I read it, I was like, that is so clever.
Thank you. I'm a big fan of it. And that's our Instagram too, at my2front. And if anyone has any questions, just always feel free to DM me on Instagram. It's Dr. Ingrid Murra, INGRID
And I have to say, definitely everybody should go and take a look at their social, because I might have went on the deep dive. I was looking at the information you have on there in general is really valuable. And
thank you.
That's actually what got me so excited, was reading all the information you had on there. And I was just applying it just in life itself. It makes so much sense. So I thank you for that. And all this conversation, I learned so much.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear it was helpful. It's what we're all about. Just education first, helping patients make their own decisions.
Well, definitely. And I encourage everybody to look at it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.